Ramiro.
Oh shoot! This is great, guys.
Ramiro and James. Alright guys, you need to do two things to get started this morning. You need to make sure that you have 78 turned in if you want full credit for that. And you need to find number 82 in your binder. That's a worksheet I had you pick up last class, but I didn't make you work on it yet. So you may not have numbered it as 82, but you should have it in your binder. Hi, this is Isaac Townsend. I saw I missed a few calls at lunch. Okay, that's fine. Somebody called 3 times, so if it's important, just call back, I guess. Huh? Okay, so today we are going to work through that practice 2. I think a few of you actually did it last time, which is okay. But most of you did not, because I told you didn't have to worry about it till today. So there are 6 questions on there. I'm going to start you off in just a minute by going over one of each type again as a quick reteach, since it's been since last Friday. And then you'll have the rest of class to work on the handout you picked up, number 83. But I'll give you more details about that when we get there. Hello? Hey. Uh-huh. Okay, well, yeah, well, you can call back if it's important. Yeah, bye. Okay, so again, just for another opportunity to make this go a little bit easier for you. Again, I'm not going to say anything different than I said last time, but I did want to start off class by doing a quick reteach of these difference quotient, the 3 different type of problems we talked about last time that would be fair game for your test, and then the rest of the class will be set up for working through that test review that I'll talk about when we get there. So on these question types, for the difference quotient, make sure I don't need this. So all of these questions should start off the same first 2 steps and basically the same last 2 steps, but what happened in the middle was kind of different. So for the first step for all 3 of these questions, you're going to have the difference quotient memorized. So last class I started off by showing you where that came from. You won't have to derive that for us, but at the very least you have to have it memorized. And if you misremember it, if you mismemorize it, then that could domino and hurt you on a few of our test questions. The second step is just applying what it's saying to do. So the first part is it wants us to plug in an x plus h everywhere there was an x, then subtract away the whole function, and put the whole thing over h. So that's what step 2 would look like for question 1. Question 2, this would be f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. And for step 3, f of x plus h, subtract the function and put it over h. So same first 2 steps. Doesn't matter what type of function it was, shouldn't be any easier or harder the first 2 steps. But as far as simplifying, This is a complex fraction, so it's going to simplify one way. There's only one way to move forward on this one, but question 1 is probably the one that just feels the most natural to you because you've done this type of algebra the most. So right here, make sure you don't distribute the 5 and then square. That's not what order of operation tells us to do. Square this, so x plus h times x plus h gives us all of that. It's not just x squared plus h squared. Eventually, at some point, you need to distribute your 7. At some point, you need to distribute your negative. At some point, you need to distribute this 5. So I'll just do that right above. And then we're just about finished with this question. So even though question 2 and 3, all that middle piece will be a little bit different, those two should finish pretty similar to what I'm about to do right here for question 1. Most of this numerator, this messy numerator, should add to 0. So combine like terms. 5x squared minus 5x squared goes to 0. 7x minus 7x goes to 0. 6 minus 6 goes to 0. And the only things left over in the numerator have an h in them. So you might want to factor it out as a GCF, but your very last step should be undoing times h with divide h. We're aiming for 10x plus 5h plus 7. So the bulk of that question was FOIL and distributing, as far as being unique. Whereas question 2, I guess you can distribute the 6 if you want to, but that doesn't help a whole lot. So for this question type, really the only way to move forward is with conjugates. So you would want the conjugate of the numerator, because it's the one that has the square root stuff. You would want to make sure that you use the conjugate on top and bottom, so it's like you're multiplying by 1 and not changing the size. And then multiply your fractions. But my denominator is h times this stuff, so I'm going to leave it h times that stuff. I know the last step is going to be to cancel out h's, so I want to leave it factored out anyway. And then to multiply the numerators, I need to FOIL, but if you FOIL something times its conjugate, most of it cleans up very quickly, which is why we choose conjugate over something else. So first part of FOIL, the square root of something times the square root of itself just gives you that something. I'll go ahead and distribute the 6 while I'm at it. The outer and inner part of FOIL are going to cancel, so if you know that, you can skip that step. If you don't know that, you need to write them and then see that they add to 0. And then the last part of FOIL. Square root of 6x minus 2 times the square root of 6x minus 2 would be 6x minus 2. But one is negative and one is positive, which makes this whole thing negative. It's not the 6x that's negative, it's the 6x minus 2 is negative. The whole thing. So either put that in parentheses or just distribute. Now it's almost done. Now it should finish like question 1. Lots of stuff in the numerator adds to 0, so combine like terms, and then finish by dividing out h's. Times h divided by h cancels, and we would be aiming for 6 over all of this stuff. So again, I'm just trying to emphasize the similarities and differences. First 2 steps the same. Last step or 2 is basically the same, but we started with a different function type, so we had to do this conjugate in question 2 that we didn't have to do in question 1. All right, and then the third type that we looked at on Friday of last week was like question 3, where you start off with a rational function, and after you apply the difference quotient, you're left with a complex fraction. So complex fractions are going to show up in a dozen different things in your math career. So it's good to know how to simplify these anyway. But I would like to multiply this by 8x plus 9 to make those two cancel. But we can only multiply one term by 8x plus 9 if we're willing to multiply everything by 8x plus 9. Likewise, I would love to multiply this by 8x plus 8h plus 9 to make those cancel. But you can't multiply one of them by that unless you're willing to multiply them all by that. Usually the complex fraction looks pretty messy here, so be extra careful. But what was left behind was a negative 16x minus 18. This bothers me, minus a negative. I'm just going to change that to plus a positive to make that a little easier to see. So we were left with 2 times this stuff, which would be 16x plus 16h plus 18. And in the denominator, nothing canceled out, so all of that's still the denominator. So it looks like I've done a lot here, but really all I did was multiply everything by 8x plus 9 to get rid of one small fraction, and then multiplied everything by 8x plus 8h plus 9 to get rid of the other small denominator. Again, you need to be able to simplify complex fractions for other things. I don't know that complex fractions even come back up for us the rest of the year, but it is an important algebra topic. It's just one you don't practice much in Algebra 2. If you can do that, then you should be home free here, because now it's going to finish like the rest. Most everything in the numerator should add to 0, and final step, undo times h with divide h. The answer we were looking for here is this. And if you don't want to distribute that h, you don't have to. It's equivalent. And neither one's more simplified, so either one would be fine. But that's how I'd write it. So again, same thing we talked about on Friday, but just felt like it was worth spending a few minutes, especially since we had time to here, to give you a quick little review. So you are still on the hook for the back page. Questions 4, 5, and 6. What?
Oh, no, sorry.
Sorry. So 4 is like question 1, 5 is like question 2, 6 is like question 3. So if any of these don't ring any bells from last Friday, you might look these over and study them for a minute before you try those 3 questions on the back. Check your answers with the class website, please. Those 3 on the back will have not just the answers, but the steps that go along with them. So if that's enough to help you correct all your mistakes, if you have any mistakes, then that's great. And if not, then you need to ask and make sure you get clarification. So do that first. That should take you, I don't know, no more than 15 or 20 minutes to do those 3 questions and check them and make corrections as needed. Then you've got the rest of the time for today's handout, which is number 83. So this is the limits review, and it's, I don't know, it's a little bit longer, but a lot of these questions are kind of spaced out a bit. But the good news is that our test is not next class. We have one more class before your test. So this allows you to use today's class to just work through the review. You can circle any question that you work with your neighbors on. You can circle any question that you're not getting the right answer to. Circle any question that you know you need to review, or you had to look at your notes, any of that kind of stuff. And then you will still have time on Thursday to ask specific questions for me to go over. So that is the plan. Finish up this 82, those 3 questions on the back, work through 83, start to identify what it is you're going to need to review and study before the test. And on Thursday, I will answer the bulk of your questions. Of course, you guys are also welcome to ask questions today. You don't have to wait, but if you do have specifics, you'll need to either call me over or bring it up to me. Yeah.
So our test is next Tuesday?
Correct. Yeah. And you guys don't have school on Monday, so on Thursday I'll remind you, especially after a 3-day weekend, you know, you're less likely to be thinking about school stuff, but I guess the alternative is taking it Thursday, so I feel like that's still a good trade-off. So based on how this went with my 8A class yesterday, I think you will have plenty of time, especially with our 10 extra class minutes. So I will leave the agenda up on the board so that you can remember what to do. But let me know how and where I can help. I'd be happy to do so. Yes, Jonathan.
Sorry, I'm not. I just got fixed my bad. Sorry. I'll stop doing that.
Oh, I wasn't here on Thursday or Friday.
Okay.
So could I get like a day or two to turn all my stuff in?
Are they excused absences?
I was sick.
Yeah, then if you miss 2 days, I think that means you get 3 days to be caught up.
Yeah.
So I always try to make a few extra copies of anything that we do, but I guess I made several extra copies of this test review. So after you guys work through it today, if you would like another copy, if you think you just want to do it a second time or something, you're welcome to put them over here. There's quite a few. But it's totally optional.
Bless you. Bless you.